set it up.
Thumbs up. Alright, I'm going. Hello everyone, my name is Corey Reniger. For my third speech, it's going to be an informative speech about air traffic control. This December I'll be graduating and soon to be air traffic controller with the FAA. And I'm looking forward to it. And the reason why I chose this speech is because a lot of times when I talk to people about air traffic control, they always ask, well, what do they really do? Or how do they do it? Or what's their job? And a lot of times the best thing that people give me are those the people on the runways with the orange cones. And that's always kind of a joke that people give to me. And, not really gonna hear talk about it. And I figured the easiest way to inform people what air traffic controllers do is take a process of a plane taking off from Jackson International and going to land in Atlanta Airport. So at first, if everybody got on the plane, and the first controller that's going to be talking to that plane is considered the control tower at the airport. And one of the towers at the airport is where one of the first air traffic controllers is going to be. And there's two people up in the control tower. One's a local controller and one's a ground controller. And according to the FAA, there's over 100 air traffic control FAA towers in the United States. So the first controller is going to be the ground controller. And the ground controller essentially is the guy that owns everything on the ground. So he lets the airplanes know where they can taxi, where they taxi to, what runways they use, and he keeps everything safe on the ground, doesn't let anything hit. And once that plane gets to the runway, he transfers that plane's frequency, tells the pilot to contact the local controller. And the local controller owns everything up in the air, everything from about 5 miles within that radius of the airport. And that local controller is going to tell everybody, when to land, which runway to land, when to take off, what heading to turn, whether they're heading north, south, or, wherever they're going. He's going to tell them when to land, when to take off. Now once that plane takes off and you're climbing and you're in the back of your seat, the next thing that you're going to do is the air traffic controller is going to tell that pilot to contact a different controller. And the next controller that pilot is going to talk to is going to be an approach control. And what the approach controller does is he owns about 50 to 75 miles around that airport. And what he is essentially doing is he's getting everything up and down into the airports around that area. And what happens is when they're climbing, there's other planes coming in. So what they do is they send different planes out different ways, and they bring different planes in at different ways. So that controller is basically bringing all the planes up and down. Now once that plane climbs to about 14,000 feet, he's going to switch over to an en route controller. And an en route controller is at a center. And according to the FAA, right now there's 23 centers in the United States. And a center can control anywhere from up to Orlando, all the way to South Carolina, over to Mississippi. And that center is controlled out in Hilliard right now, which is west of Jacksonville. And the center is essentially everything en route, everything that just flies over. So when you look up in the sky and you see the planes up in the air, higher altitudes, that's the controller. So as you're flying up, the controller en route is going to take that plane and he's going to get you up to your desired altitude that the pilot is wanting. And normally a lot of these planes are anywhere from 18,000 to 30,000 feet. And a lot of times commercial airplanes want to be right around 25 to 35,000 feet. So you're going to cruise at 30,000 feet where the en route controller is going to move you around depending on weather, depending on jet streams, depending on icing. There's a lot of factors that come into play of where your plane's going to be. And also different traffic around, he's going to work you in and out. He's going to make you safe. Because essentially the sole purpose of an air traffic controller is a safe and orderly distribution of the planes in the air. And once you get up to altitude and you're getting close to Atlanta, you're going to start descending. And that's when that center controller is going to send you down to another approach control. And that approach control is going to get you down to around 14,000 feet. And that approach controller is eventually going to take your plane now and bring you down. And once that plane gets down, he's going to send you off to the tower. And the tower is eventually going to have that 5-mile radius and bring you down. And once that runway is clear, that tower local controller is going to bring you down, land you on that runway, and send you off to that ground controller. And that's where the ground controller is then going to take and taxi you to your gate. And that's essentially what an air traffic controller does.